Okay, and with the Vice Speaker for the wreath, the plaque, and the resolution.
The Committee on Rules meeting is called to order. Clerk, please take roll call.
Chairman Respicio, Senator Tom Adda,
Present.
Speaker Wampat, Vice Speaker Cruz, Senator Muñoz Barnes, Senator Uggan, Senator Rodriguez, Senator Sinicolas, Senator Underwood, Senator Tony Adda,
Good afternoon, President.
Senator Torres. Mr. Chair, there is a quorum.
Yes.
Colleagues who are presently not here for this particular meeting, that they be excused.
There's no
No
objections. Motion carries. May I have a motion to accept and adopt the COR meeting minutes for January 8, 2016,
So moved.
subject to correction?
So moved, sir.
Okay, on the motion made by Senator Tina Muñoz Barnes and seconded by Speaker B.J. Cruz to adopt the COR meeting minutes for January 8, 2016, subject to corrections. No objections. The motion carries. On item 4 of the agenda, document tracking, I recognize Legislative Secretary Senator Tina Muñoz Barnes.
Situs Masi, Mr. Chair, watch na documento Gwini. Sir, from the Legislative Secretary's report on zone changes to date, there have been 6 provided to the Guam Legislature. All 6 of them are now in effect. They are now in law, lapsed into law. On the report, Legislative Secretary's report on rules and regulations, this term to date, there have been 10 total rules and regulations submitted to this August body. 9 are now in effect by law, and we still have 1 pending. And unless there has been an introduction, will the Committee on Health, Development, Homeland Security, and Senior Citizens just take a look at the ones I think regarding sanitation permits? Okay. And lastly, Mr. Chair, on the Legislative Secretary's report on the appointments, from a total submission of 20, there is 4 on the agenda for this session. 6 have expired and 10 are pending. And that is a total report from the Legislative Secretary on document tracking. And if anybody would like to look at the list, the copies should be transmitted to you guys.
So they're expired because they did not receive the confirmation hearing?
Sir, for various reasons, some
Okay.
it just the time has lapsed.
Oh, okay. All right.
On correction, on their ability to act.
So their the termination date of their appointment has come up, and they have exhausted the 90 days plus 3 legislative days.
Some of them weren't even. There are some new nominees who never had a hearing.
Okay.
So, Mr. Chair, just a clarification. So if they had never had a hearing, does that make their appointment expired, or is it just pending? Still pending. So it's not expired.
Based on the submission to the Legislative Secretary and the due date as posted on the timeline, potential due date.
No, I better clarify that, because I know, for example, there's a member of the Chamorro Land Trust
Yes, sir.
Commission, and he had a public hearing. It has not been reported out by committee, but I did check with legal counsel that there's really no timeline that requires that particular committee report be reported out. So I'm just a little confused by the expired comment.
Mr. Chair, if I may, if we can get clarification from legal counsel, then just based on the potential due dates, when the appointment was submitted by the administration to the legislative body, there is a timeline that ticks, and there's a 90-day, 90 days to act on, and the dates as provided and submitted to the clerk's office. And those dates on the potential due dates, those times have been up. So that's just, I guess, for clarification.
What about the 3 legislative days? My understanding is 90 days plus 3 legislative dates of the actual expiration.
Sure.
My understanding, if I can be corrected if there's an error, but my understanding is that there's 90 days for the committee to act plus 3 legislative days.
No. My understanding is that a term has a specific expiration date. So an appointment that is for 3 years by law has a certain expiration date. The law then allows for that member to continue acting on the board in full capacity for 90 days plus 3 legislative days. After that, if no confirmation has come out, then that member can no longer participate on the board. But what we're talking about is a member who has expired, has had a confirmation hearing, but the committee has not reported them out. And my understanding is that the committee can hold on to that report and is not indefinitely.
Mr. Chair, if I may, just based on advice I get, so for the record, based on the appointments received to date, the six appointments timeline has expired. The 90 days has expired, for the record, just the 90 days. So I just want to note that for the record. And we still have 10 pending.
Go ahead.
Mr. Chairman, okay, thank you for that explanation. However, I want to be specific, like I have 3 appointments here, they're referred to my committee, and these are new appointees. So that 90-day does not apply to these 3 appointees. Is that correct?
I would have to ask legal counsel to.
I believe that's correct, Senator. For the new appointments, there's really no deadline, although we do track the 90 days because of the holdovers. Yeah, with 90 plus the 3 legislative days, yeah.
Okay,
they
so
get
just to be clear,
continue,
that there is
yes.
no 90-day requirement for new appointees.
That's correct.
Thank you.
All right.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
So, any further discussions? All right, moving on to item 5, ratification of referrals. Could I have a motion to ratify the referrals of, on the motion by Vice Speaker Cruz and seconded by Senator Uggan, no objection, and the motion carries. Motion to ratify the referrals of appointments. The motion by Senator Uggan and seconded by moved by Vice Speaker and seconded by Senator Uggan. No objection. The motion carries. Motion to ratify the referral of resolution number 257-33, 279-33 COR, and 280-33 COR. Do we have a motion?
So moved.
Seconded by Senator Uggan, moved by Senator Barnes. There being no objection, the motion carries. Now for the session agenda. Please be advised that the items being placed on the agenda shall reflect the version that the committee reports out. We'll start with the speaker. You are recognized.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I'd like to make a motion to place Bill number 235-33. What that is, it's basically allowing the contractor of the Guam Museum to use its current funding to include operational startup cost.
On the motion to place Bill 235 on the session agenda. No objections, the motion carries. Senator Wampat.
Thank you very much. Motion to place Bill 242, and that's also for the museum, and it is to allow them to set interim admission, event, and membership fees for the Guam Museum.
On the motion to place Bill 242-33 on the session agenda. Any objections? None. Motion carries.
Thank you. And for Bill 245, because again, the library, our Guam Public Library system will be opening soon, and we need to allow the library to authorize them to lease out for an internet cafe to operate it and manage it within the library.
What was that bill number?
Number 245.
On the motion to place Bill 245 on the session agenda. Any objections?
No objection.
None. Motion carries.
And if I may, I'd like to place the appointment of Mr. Frank P. Ariola for a member of the Guam Community College Board of Trustees, and also the appointment of Gina Y. Ramos, also a member of the Guam Community College Board of Trustees.
Any motion to place these two nominees on the session agenda?
objection.
Motion carries. Vice Speaker Cruz, you recognize.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move Bill 246 onto the session agenda. This is time sensitive. It involves the insurance premium for the foster children's medical insurance. It was heard the other day, and the committee report has been circulated.
On the motion to place 246 on the session agenda, no objections, motion carries.
And, Mr. Chairman, just to put the committee on notice that when you get to motions on Monday, I will be moving to for the override on 222.
So noted.
And, oh, wait, I'm supposed to also, Senator Nicholas has asked me to do a couple. I'll do it when you recognize him.
Okay. Legislative Secretary Tina Munoz Barnes, you recognize. I'm sorry.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. If I may, put number 247-33, which is an act to appropriate the sum of $820,000 from the 2015 the hotel occupancy tax unreserved fund balance to the Guam Museum for the museum's operations. 247.
On the motion to place 247 in the session agenda, any objections? Motion carries. Senator Barnes.
Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, 226, which is an act to authorize the sale of approximately 258 more or less square meters of a Bucart trail that is adjacent to lot 240-2-4 Municipality of Assen to Jeffrey and Maria Gago. I ask that be placed on the agenda. And that would be the committee report. If
On that particular motion, I should just note that the committee report was just reported out today, but there's also pending to complete that committee report a map approved by the Department of Land Management, the survey map of the Bocart Trail in question, and a definitive letter from the adjacent landowner that that particular landowner has no interest in acquiring a portion of that Bocart Trail. So if there's no objections, okay, motion carries. Senator Barnes? Which one is that? Okay.
C. Mossy, title, Mr. Chair. One last bill, Bill 227-33 COR, which is an act to add a new section 40145 to Chapter 40 of Title 5 Guam Code annotated relative to placing the tract 3620, formerly Basic Lot Number 381-2, Municipality of Inaran, currently leased from the Chamorro Land Trust Commission under the administrative jurisdiction of the Inaran Mayor's Office. Mr. Chair, this also will have an amended version to correct some technicalities on that.
Okay, so please note that Bill 227, because there are, I believe, 9 separate lots involved within the tract, the bill is going to have to be broken up into 9 new bills. So when it comes to that, basically, the sponsor will be moving these 9 separate bills, which are all a part of the same tract that received a public hearing under Bill 227. Did I confuse you completely? Got it?
Yes.
No. There are. So we're talking about a tract of land, and within that tract was the land within was already subdivided into 900 by 100 lots, and so we're turning those 9 lots over under the control of the mayor, and so it takes 9 separate bills. Once it's returned to the mayor, then the mayor's office is going to have to do the necessary processing with land management to consolidate it, so that then now you have one complete tract.
Yeah.
No. So with that, then, probably the best way to note it is that we're placing Bill 227, 247, 226, and 227, but that, noting that 227, when it's placed on the agenda, will actually be manifested in 9 separate bills. 1 for each lot within the tract of land. I'm sorry?
Yeah, because it's really
Yes,
one.
because Bill 227
Yeah, but they all would have different numbers.
Correct.
Only one will have the number of 227.
Correct.
All the others will have new numbers.
The other 8 lots will have a separate number, but they won't need a public hearing because they
It's the same
technically got heard under Bill 227.
Yeah. Yes, it was noted through the Director of Land Management's test.
The bills
Yes,
have
sir.
not yet been introduced.
No, it has not been introduced.
So pending the completion of all that,
Yeah.
it will be.
It's just because when we heard the bill as one tract based on the breakup of on the PTR, our rules and regs say that each lot is one separate bill. So that's why it was recommended that we break it up that way. Okay.
The alternative to this, so that it's clear and without any confusion, is to defer this until the next session when we can actually then see the 9 separate bills. So if there's no objection, we'll place 227, which will be manifested as 9 separate bills on the agenda. Are there any objections? No objections? Because the law requires that there's only one land transaction per bill.
No, that part I have. Just
Okay.
give me same track.
No. Correct. Okay. There being no objection, motion carries. You owe me one. Senator Uggan.
Yes, sir. What did you want?
Good afternoon, Mr. Chairman and fellow colleagues. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move for the placement of Bill number 89-33LS, which is relative to the composition of the Guam Parole Board.
Wait, what was that? What?
89-33
89-33.
LS,
Okay.
relative to the composition, unless you wanted me to read the Guam
No.
Code annotated provision.
On the motion to place Bill 89-33 on the session agenda, are there any objections?
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to move for the placement of Bill number 229-33 COR relative to the temporary employment of retired conservation officers within the Division of Aquatic and Wildlife Resources of the Department of Agriculture should a critical need arise due to military activation or long-term disability. And I would recommend, Mr. Chairman, that obviously standing rules that the version adopted by the committee report, reflected in the committee report, would be the version on the floor. 229-33.
All right. Any objections?
No objection.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Thank you, Senators.
Okay. Senator Rodriguez?
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I move to place Bill 185 on the session agenda, and this is regarding setting up a process that addresses inverse land condemnations that were taken from our private landowners from the government of Guam. There were several, 2 sessions ago, I believe, we had this on the agenda. We were moving it forward. There was a request for a member to bring it back to committee, which we did, and the committee chair had several, I think 2 markup meetings, recent as yesterday. And so we're working with the committee to provide them the answers that to questions that came up during that markup meeting. And so we'll have the bill, I understand from the chairman, reported out by Monday morning.
So on the motion to place Bill 185 on the Bill 185 as reported out by the committee to place on the session agenda, any objections?
No objections.
Okay.
Thank you very much, Mr. Chair. Mr. Chair, I also move to place the appointment of John J. Rojas to serve as the administrator of the Guam Economic Development Authority on the session agenda.
Any objections?
No objection.
Motion carries. Okay. All right, thank you very much, Senator Rodriguez. Vice Speaker Cruz, you're going to...
Thank you very much, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the Chairman of Finance...
Turn on your mic.
Oh, there it is. It is working. On behalf of the Chairman of Finance and Taxation, I'd like to move Bill 228 onto the agenda. That bill is to use any excess funds for tax refund.
Any objections? No objections, motion carries.
The chairman would also like to ask that his resolution 257 be placed on the agenda. This is the Social Security.
Any objections? Resolution 257.
257. And the appointment of Elmore Cotton to the Board of Equalization.
Any objections? Okay. Senator Underwood, you recognize.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I just have one bill, and I humbly ask the committee to move Bill 238-33. This is an act to appropriate the sum of $250,000 from the unreserved fund balance of the Healthy Futures Fund as of September 30, 2015, to the Guam Department of Youth Affairs for the expansion of their programs and services offered by the community social development centers for our youth and their families. No objections for...
Are there any objections? None? Okay, motion carries.
Thank you.
You go ahead and move for, I'll move for Senator Respicio. All right. For Senator Respicio, I move to place Bill 223-33, which is an act to appropriate the revenues from the invasive species fees to fund the operations of the Biosecurity Division of the Department of Agriculture. Place it on the agenda. No objections. Motion carries. Also would want to place Bill 241-33, which is an act to add a new chapter 51308.9 and to amend section 51303A to Article 3, Chapter 51, Title 10 of the Guam Code annotated, to establish a recycling industry economic stimulus program and to provide a continuing appropriation for this purpose from the recycling revolving fund revenues. Any objections?
No objection.
Okay, motion carries. And also to place two appointments. Mr. William T. Dietrich, member of the Guam Environmental Protection Board, and Mr. Erning Zhao as a member of the Guam Environmental Protection Agency Board. Any objections?
No objection.
Okay.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. On your behalf, Bill number 244-33 COR, which is an act to amend Section 67105.1 and 6, and Section 67106 and Section 67109 of Chapter 67 of Title 10 Guam Code annotated, and this is relative to granting the authority to the Veterans Affairs Officer for expenditures of the Veterans Cemetery Trust Fund and Veterans Affairs Fund.
Any objections?
No objection.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Also, on the appointment of Mr. Michael A. Pangilinan to be a member of the a member at large for the PUC Public Utilities Commission.
Any objections?
No objection.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Open discussion. Oh, my apologies. No, what happened was I saw T. Ada and I just assumed it was Tom Ada. I apologize.
Not a problem, Mr. Chairman. Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. On behalf of the minority, I'd like to thank you for giving us the opportunity to place Bill 149-33, and this is relative to parents' liability for willful acts of minor children.
Are there any objections? Motion carries.
And Bill 236-33 is substituted by the Committee on U.S. Military Relocation, Public Safety, and Judiciary, and this is relative to possession of firearms by aliens.
Any objections? Motion carries.
And on behalf of Senator McCready, I have one Bill 191-33, and this is relative to towing notice requirements, rate regulations, liens, penalties, and deposit of fines.
That would be the version as reported out. I don't think that's been reported out by the committee yet. That I believe the substitute version came out late yesterday afternoon, and the committee chair hasn't even had a chance to look at that. I guess we could
Place it in
place it
pending.
pending,
Committee
pending the report being put out.
Okay, thank you, Mr. Chairman.
That was what?
191-33.
191-33. Okay.
Okay.
Okay. Senator Torres?
Seduce Mosti, Mr. Chairman. I'd like to move that we place the following bills on the session agenda. Bill number 248-33, sponsored by myself, Mary Torres, which is an act relative to maternity and paternity leave of public officers and employees.
Any objections? Motion carries.
Thank you. On behalf of Senator Frank F. Blas Jr., I'd like to also move to place Bill number 231-33, which is an act relative to the acts of violence against an unborn child.
Any objections? Motion carries.
Further, on behalf of Senator Tommy Morrison, I'd like to request that we place Bill number 218-33 COR as substituted by the Committee on Municipal Affairs, Tourism, Housing, and Historic Preservation. And this is relative to promoting responsible development in southern Guam.
Any objections? Motion carries.
And finally, Mr. Chair, on behalf of Senators James S. Baldon and Frank F. Blas Jr., I move that we also place Bill number 239-33, which is relative to the use of funds from the revolving or other special revenue funds.
Any objections? Motion carries.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
All right. I think we've completed the agenda. Open discussion. Is there any open discussions?
It's not an open discussion, but more really is that, when you consider the number of bills that we have here and the number of days that we're going to be on, is that there's the potentially that we may not finish whatever is on the agenda. And I hope, we understand that then either depending on what the motion is, whether they carry over into the next session, or then we re-motion them back in again for the next session agenda. But Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, 3 days for session. Thursday, we're voting.
Do I have a motion to adjourn the Committee on Rules meeting? Moved by Vice Speaker Cruz.
Second.
To adjourn the Committee on Rules meeting. Any objections? Without any objections, Committee on Rules meeting is adjourned. This meeting is adjourned.